want to hear about this.
Turn away. Yeah. Amazing. I mean, how we talked about this last time we talked again, but how deep does this go? I mean, how far spread is this? I mean, this is like we said, like an organism that has taken an own life, and as you said, because these kinds of abuse and molestations continue within families and continue to spread. It almost like, as you said, like an own organism that has taken its own direction, and now basically we don't stop it because we refuse to acknowledge that it's there.
Now, I agree 100%, and this is why, once again, if we want to do something good, if we want justice to be done, then I think the concentration is, let's start helping victims of child molestation, of child rape, of sexual abuse, of incest. If we can stop that, one, we're going to be helping a great number of people.
Yeah.
Two, I think that you're going to start finding people like Dr. Sidney Seymour that have been trained up, and you're going to find out that they're involved in a lot of other things.
Yeah.
But let's just talk about the child molestation for a second. It grows exponentially, and if you start off with people that have gotten bold, and incest has been around, unfortunately, for a long time.
Yeah.
But smart perpetrators have now found some very sophisticated ways of being able to try to get around this. If you look at that, let's just take the Seymour family, for example. You have Sidney Seymour, father. He has 5 children. He does this to each of those children. They have grandchildren. All of a sudden, it exponentially starts to grow.
Yeah.
If these people are not gotten to, if they are not given health, they are going to allow their children to be molested and harmed. And then what happens with those children if they are not reached? And the thing that is just overwhelming to me is the degree of silence, the degree of fear that these victims go through.
Yeah.
There is a fear that is just overwhelming. I mean, for Susan to have gotten to the point where she went to the police and reported this and then to recant, that's the type of fear we're talking about.
Yeah.
47-year-old lawyer who had the fear of a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
You got to remember what he did when she was 5. In one instance, he actually took a puppy of hers and gutted it in front of her with a fish knife and said, "This is what I will do to you if you speak." They had a pet deer, a wild deer that was a baby, a doe, I guess. I'm a city guy, and was around the house, and the kids were taking care of it, and they would feed it, and it would come back, at a regular time. At one point, Dr. Seymour, seeing this, shot the deer and ordered his wife to cook it, said it's just venison. These are the type of things that he would do, and think about the impact that has on a child.
Yeah, of course.
The thoughts of that man.
That's
those are the type of hurdles that we're trying to get over to get people to start to open up.
Yeah.
They are petrified. And sometimes I think if you have not been abused, it's hard for us to understand the level of fear that these people have.
Yeah.
Dr. Ross talks about it. It's that fear that will cause someone like my wife to walk hand in hand with me for a year on this issue, go to the police, confess, and then 2 days later turn around and say, no, none of this happened. It was because my husband beat me. My husband forced me to write the diaries I wrote.
Yeah.
He forced me to confront my father.
My God. So basically, let's.
And Dr. Ross testified that, believe it or not, that's normal. Now, if you told me that before, I would have thought, come on. But he has dealt with this in hundreds of cases. That's what the fear will do to these people.
Yeah.
And so we've got to make a world that is much more accepting of what they've gone through, much more comfortable to talk about this. And that's where I've kind of screwed up sometimes. Sometimes I just want to bluntly jump in there and talk about it.
Yeah.
Try to urge victims to come forward. And boy, you gotta have a soft touch.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that overall, if victims know that there are people that care about them and that there is safety, then you know what, they might start to come out more. And
Exactly.
if we can recognize the signs of those people that may not have spoken about their abuse because it's stored away, if you look for the signs, then we might be able to direct them into the proper counsel, people like Dr. Colin Ross, that will start to address this and really start to get them healthy.
Exactly, and because it feels like sometimes, what we really are fighting against is, people who just refuse to believe that this is real because they have, said seen enough, conspiracy debunking movies or whatever, and people just can't, it is almost like, that their own trauma, barrier takes a defensive step and protects even people from recognizing the possibility that this might be true.
I agree 100%, and I think it is also our comfort levels.
Yeah.
I just don't think that a lot of people, as they're walking through life, watching TV, going to movies, going to a restaurant, and all the rest of it, it's like they want to be in their own little bubble, and they don't want to realize that these things are going on.
Exactly.
Here's something that I've got to point out.
Yeah.
This shouldn't be a shock to anybody. My story shouldn't be a shock to anybody. For the last 2.5 years, I've been charting other sexual cases. Just out here in California, we had in my county, there was an individual that was convicted for having sex and filming it with his infant child and sending it off. There is an individual in San Jose, California, that is probably one of the largest number of victims that agency has ever seen. But they found a book where he had kept the numbers of these people, and it was just overwhelming. In Europe, they prosecuted 66 people as part of a ring of sexual molestation.
Yeah.
All you have to do is open your eyes and look. Now, interestingly, the media many times will come out and they'll have a splash and announce the case, and then they kind of die away too.
Yeah.
So, that does affect the public. But if we open our eyes, we'll see that this is a problem. And incest has been a problem that, something that people have not wanted to talk about for a very long period of time.
Exactly.
But I would say back in the 80s is when, there has been a change where people have started to say, wait, the numbers are staggering.
Yeah.
Right? Children that have been molested, it's 1 in 4. 1 in 4. In incestuous acts, that's the majority of those 1 in 4 incidents. And what we've got to do as parents, as just people that care about the planet we live on, we've got to look for these things and make sure that they don't happen and provide a safe place. I mean, we don't allow, cannibalism, in a civilized country. I don't know how we allow people to think that they can use the children that they gave birth to as sex toys, sex objects. Yeah. It's sickening, and it's time that as a world, just put our foot down and say, no more.
Exactly.
We're not going to do this, and we're going to provide a safe place for these victims.
Yeah.
And we are going to go after the people that have done these things. They're cowards. They're like cockroaches. As soon as the light comes on, they scatter. And we should not be afraid of these people. The only power and control they have are over children, or over people that they have, basically mind controlled all their life.
Yeah.
But otherwise, these people are cowards.
And if there, sorry to interrupt here, but if there is enough of us who are aware and are able to, spot the warning signs in good time, we don't even need to, go after people anymore, because everyone will be, aware of this and keep their eyes open. Basically, that's the point.
I don't want to sound naive or anything else, but I pray often for a world where there is no more child molestation, where we're going to look back at it and say, remember that thing? God, can you believe that ever existed?
Yeah.
And I believe that if the main thing that will accomplish that is a society that is extremely open and supportive of victims, and that is there for them, and and as an active part of treatment, we have counselors and psychiatrists that are trained up to deal with this area.
Yeah. And
this is something, when you look at it, it's really been a fairly short period of time where there has been an emphasis on this. And like I said, I think you can chart it back to the 80s. So you're talking about 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
20, 25 years where this has really gotten off the ground.
Yeah.
I look to people like Dr. Colin Ross, who has really stepped out.
Yeah.
There were some people that didn't believe that multiple personality disorder
exactly.
existed. It's now called DID, dissociative disorder, identity disorder.
Yeah.
It's called now.
Yeah.
And it's just a different name for it. And it is now a recognized state and condition.
Yeah.
A treatment area that needs to be treated. And we just need to do more in that regard to get that out and help these people. Because if we don't, it's going to continue on at an exponential rate, and that is something that should terrify most of us.
Exactly. And we got about 2.5 minutes left here, but tell me a little bit about your case. How is it going? You're having a hearing coming up here soon, I guess.
Yeah, what happened, we went to trial, and interestingly, they had 18 counts plus, they're called sentencing enhancements, and several lesser-included offenses. And the bottom line is most of the specific claims that Susan had made against me, and they were very bizarre, and they had to be. She had to have something that was extreme enough to overcome all these confessions and diary notes and everything else.
Yeah.
The jury found me not guilty of on the specific claims. She claimed some very bizarre things. We had 10 not guilties and then 6 sentencing enhancement not guilties.
Mm-hmm.
The strange thing on this case was, it was a long case. There were a great number of counts, and we have found that there was a group of 4 jurors that were very against me and have committed juror misconduct. And we're going to be having a hearing about that and hopefully getting a new trial on the remaining counts, because the jury compromised and found me guilty of torture. Now, they were not told what the sentence was. In our law, they're not allowed to consider that. And torture, believe it or not, has a very broad definition that really was poorly written here in California and can encompass a great deal of conduct.
Uh-huh.
The jurors, when they were interviewed afterwards, said that they felt that these 4 jurors were really pushing for that. The 4 jurors, even though they disliked me greatly, had to concede on the other 10 counts and 6 enhancements that I was not guilty.
Yeah.
But they hung in there and basically got people to compromise on that count. Now, when we've interviewed people, they said, well, we just didn't think it was going to carry much time. And once they found out it was life, we've had a number of jurors come forward and say they absolutely don't think that should exist. 2 jurors have signed affidavits saying that they felt pressured by this group, and they felt that I was not guilty, and they just are beside themselves because they felt that they were pressured into voting guilty.
Yeah.
So it was just one more ironic step in a very bizarre case.
Yeah.
It was so strange hearing these not guilties, which was so good and vindicating me in so many ways, so many things that had been written about me that I had to suffer through.
Yeah.
I was acquitted on. And then we got to this torture count, and nobody thought that we were going to get had on that.
Yeah.
And they found me guilty. And then I've had jurors, like I said, sign affidavits. They felt they were pressured.
Yeah.
So what our next hearing is going to be about is hopefully the judge will reverse the torture count and actually give us a new trial so we can finish off what we started. And we believe that if we do this again, that there will be no, their case has been virtually gutted by the not guilties.
Yeah.
And if they are to try to do this case again, that I think we're going to be victorious across the board.
That's great. That's good news. And we have to, we're totally out of time here, so we have to end it, Richard.
All right. Thank you.
But I want to thank you so much for telling us about your case here, and that we could, stay in contact and let us know how things are going, and maybe we can do another show down the road here.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I just keep up the good work, and I thank everybody that has given support. And just, if you're thinking about this case, you're doing something good.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Richard. Stay brave.
Right.
Bye-bye. Hey.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Remember that next week we will continue with our series with Michael Tsarion, so tune in live if you want the opportunity to win a DVD from his Origins and Oracles series. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.